Class 8th ICSE. Welcome to the Wisdom 360 Prodigy live classes. Today we are going to study the chapter Circulatory System in Humans. In the previous classes, we discussed about the concept mapping of the circulatory system comprising the components of the circulatory system, that is blood, blood vessels, heart and the lymph. Now today we are going to discuss about the structure of the heart, which I am going to make. The structure of the heart consisting of 4 chambers, in which the upper 2 are known as the auricles and the lower 2 are termed as the ventricles, and between them a thick muscular wall is present known as septum that prevents the blood from mixing. The blood that is pure and impure, meaning deoxygenated and oxygenated. Here you can see the walls of the auricles are thin. The walls of the auricles are thin as compared to the ventricles, and there are blood vessels taking the blood away from the heart and also bringing the blood into the heart. There are 4 major blood vessels that carrying the blood into and away from the heart. The upper 2 chambers, or the right side of the heart, carries the impure blood, and the left side of the heart carries the pure blood. Also, there are valves present between the chambers that helps in the movement of blood in only one direction. Firstly, you should understand what is the role of these valves and also the blood vessels carrying the blood. I will be making the impure blood with blue, and red shows the pure blood or oxygenated blood. The upper 2 chambers of the heart, which are the right auricle and the left auricle, and lower 2 are right ventricle and left ventricle. The auricles are also known as the receiving chambers, and the blood first enters the heart into the right side of the heart in the right auricle. These are the veins. Veins carry blood into the heart. You remember the flow chart which I explained in the previous class, that the auricles are known as the receiving chambers of the heart, that receives deoxygenated and oxygenated blood. The right side will be receiving impure blood from different organs of the body through a vein known as vena cava. So, the lower and upper vena cava receives the blood from lower side of the body and upper side of the body organs. And this is what kind of blood? This is impure blood. The impure blood enters the heart into the right auricle through the vein known as vena cava. The lower vena cava is known as inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava. And the upper one is known as the superior vena cava. Superior and inferior vena cava comprises the main blood vessel that is carrying the impure blood from different organs of the body into the heart, and it is also the largest vein that is carrying blood into the heart. Now the impure blood which enters into the right auricle moves into the right ventricle through the valve known as tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve allows the blood to flow in only one direction. From here, the wall of the right ventricle, which is thicker than the auricle wall, pushes the blood with pressure into an artery called as pulmonary artery that carries the blood away from the heart, and this vessel carries the blood into the lungs for purification or oxygenation. You already know that the right lung is larger than the left one, or the right lung helps in the accommodation of heart. Heart is centrally located. इस जगह पर हार्ट की पोजीशन है लंग्स के बीच में, and left lung is smaller than the right one just to give space to the heart. And from this side, this vessel carries the blood, impure blood, into the lungs and is known as the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery. We discussed that the arteries always carry the pure blood, but this is an exceptional which is carrying impure blood from the heart to the lungs. And from the lungs, when it gets oxygenated, the blood comes into the heart through the vein known as pulmonary vein. These two are exceptional blood vessels which are carrying opposite kind of blood that they usually carry. From pulmonary artery, the impure blood goes into the lungs, and through pulmonary vein, the pure blood is coming into the left side of the heart, and this is the pure blood which is entering the heart through the pulmonary vein into the left auricle, from where it goes into the left ventricle, passing through a valve known as Bicuspid valve. Bicuspid valve. Bicuspid valve is also called as mitral valve. Okay, mitral valve. From here, the pure blood is pushed from the left ventricle. The wall of the left ventricle is most thicker, or you can say the thickest wall in the heart is of left ventricle, because it has to push the blood with great pressure to different organs of the body. And this is the kind of pure blood which is going away from the heart through the blood vessel, also is the largest artery termed as aorta. This is the largest artery known as aorta. Largest artery, that is aorta, is carrying pure blood from the heart to different organs of the body. This is how the structure of the heart shows that how the blood comes into the heart and is given off or given away from the heart to different organs of the body. I told the thickest wall of the heart is of left ventricle. Thickest wall of left ventricle. And this side right ventricle have thick wall of left ventricle. Between the two sides is present the thick wall known as septum that avoids the mixing of pure blood with the impure blood. Now let us revise it again. The impure blood from upper body parts comes through the superior vena cava, and the lower body part impure blood comes from the inferior vena cava. The inferior vena cava is the largest vein that carries the impure blood into the right side of the heart in the first chamber known as right auricle. Then from this side, the right auricle pushes the blood into the right ventricle through a valve known as tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve allows the blood flow in one direction only. From the right ventricle, the thick wall of right ventricle pushes the blood into the pulmonary artery. That's an exception. Pulmonary artery carries the impure blood into the lungs from the heart. And from the lungs, after getting oxygenated, the pure blood enters the heart in the left side through pulmonary vein. These two are the exceptional blood vessels, because they are carrying opposite kind of blood than they usually carry. The left auricle is now containing the pure blood which enters the left ventricle through the valve known as bicuspid valve or mitral valve. From this side, the left auricle pushes the blood through bicuspid valve into the left ventricle, where the thickest wall of the heart is present, so as to push the blood with great pressure to different organs of the body through the largest artery known as aorta. Left ventricle pushes the blood pure blood with great pressure through the largest artery called aorta. And between the two sides of the heart is present the thick wall known as septum. And this is how the structure gets completed, and also the flow of blood to the both sides of the heart, that is right that carries the impure blood, right carry impure blood, and left carry the pure blood. This is the left side and this is carrying the pure blood. Okay. Between the two auricles is present the Interauricular septum. This portion of the septum is known as Interauricular septum, and between the two ventricles is present the Interventricular septum. Okay. So after this, I will tell you how to make the quick revision of the flow and also the chambers of the heart that we just studied. So this is the structure in which two auricles are there, two ventricles are there, two auricles and ventricles showing the flow of blood into the heart, the right side and the left one. The right is carrying impure blood and the left is carrying pure blood. This side is the entering of the blood, the impure blood from the largest vein known as Vena cava. This is right auricle, this is right ventricle, this is left auricle and this is left ventricle. The impure blood comes from the Vena cava, short form VC, and इसके दो parts जिसमें कि superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Superior vena cava from upper body part and inferior vena cava from the lower body parts. The impure blood enters into the right auricle and goes to the right ventricle through a tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve. Okay, from here the right ventricle pushes the blood through an artery into the lungs, and from there, after getting oxygenated, the pure blood enters the heart through pulmonary vein. PV मतलब pulmonary vein और PA मतलब pulmonary artery. Pulmonary vein brings the pure blood from the lungs to the heart in the in the left auricle, and from here it is pushed into the left ventricle through a bicuspid valve. Bicuspid valve, or it is also known as mitral valve. And from left ventricle, the pure blood is pushed out of the heart to different organs of the body through the largest artery known as aorta. Okay, this is how the blood is entering twice in the heart. That's why it is called as the double circulation. The movement of the heart from the right ventricle to the lungs and from the lungs to left auricle. From the right ventricle to the lungs and to left auricle is termed as pulmonary circulation. Okay, pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary term says something which is going into the heart or coming from the heart. Pulmonary says about the lungs. And the blood going from left ventricle to different organs of the body is termed as systemic circulation. Pulmonary and systemic circulation are together known as double circulation. The blood is coming into the heart and going away from the heart is known as double circulation, and this produces a sound, the closing and opening of valves between the pulmonary artery and aorta is also present, the pulmonary valve and aortic valve. The pulmonary valve allows the blood to flow only in one direction. It prevents the backflow of blood. All the valves prevent the backflow of blood. Once the blood enters through that valve, doesn't comes back, so as to avoid the mixing of pure or impure blood. Now you have understood about the circulation of blood into the heart and the chambers of the heart. Now let us recall how many points we discussed. Firstly, about the four chambers of the heart. That includes on the above upper part or second lower chambers. Upper two chambers are called auricles or atrium. Lower two chambers are known as ventricles. Upper two auricles are known as the receiving chambers. And the lower two are discharging chambers. Okay, then we discussed about major veins. Major veins, these are Vena cava and pulmonary vein. Okay, then we discussed about major arteries. These are pulmonary artery and the largest artery known as aorta. This artery carries the pure blood from heart to different organs of the body. We discussed about the muscular wall present between the two sides of the heart known as septum, and septum is of two types. Between the auricles it is known as Auricular septum, and between the ventricles it is called as the ventricular septum. All these things I am telling you just because these are being asked directly for name the following or one word answers, and also for fill in the blanks. Okay, septum, and you also know the thickest wall and the thick wall of the heart. Thickest wall is present between or of ventricles. कौन से ventricle की होती है? Left ventricle, ठीक है. और thick wall is of right ventricle. Okay. Thick क्यों होती है? Because they have to push the blood with great pressure. Okay. All these structures you remember. Also we are knowing about the valves. Valves prevents the backflow of blood. इनका काम है, इनका function है prevents the backflow of blood. Also provides unidirectional flow of blood. Okay. There are 4 valves present. Four valves which are present. I am just rubbing it out. One which is present in the right side of the heart, in between the right auricle and right ventricle, is tricuspid valve. Auricles and ventricles के बीच में tricuspid valve, और right side में ही pulmonary artery में जो valve होती है, that is called as the pulmonary valve. Okay. And in the left side, left auricle और left ventricle के बीच में bicuspid या mitral valve present है. Also left side के aorta में जो valve है जिसका नाम है aortic valve. Okay. Valves are necessary to prevent the backflow and also the mixing up of blood or the impure or pure blood. After this, we also studied about the systemic and pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary means whatever the blood is coming from the lungs or going into the lungs. Now let us see what else is given in the book. We discussed about the human heart, the structure of the heart which weighs about 300 grams, and an average adult heart is about 12 centimeter in length and 9 centimeters in breadth. The layer or the membrane which covers the heart is known as the pericardium. Pericardium is the membrane or layer that encloses the heart. Inside which a fluid is present known as pericardial fluid, which prevents or protects the heart from shocks and jerks. During contraction. The heart, the muscles of the heart are present, all these things are present in the heart, and the heart is made up of cardiac muscles. Okay, the cardiac muscles, and you also know about the valves. Okay, and the fluid, and also the membrane, the double membranous structure, the double layered sac like structure known as pericardium. For completion of one round of circulation, the blood circulation in the body, the blood passes twice through the heart. And this is known as double circulation. This we discussed about the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation. Pulmonary and systemic circulation. Pulmonary circulation, I told you, the flow of blood, the impure blood flowing from the right ventricle to the lungs and from lungs to the left auricle is called as pulmonary circulation. And systemic circulation is pure blood going from left ventricle to different organs of the body. Okay, these two are termed as the cardiac cycle. Okay. Pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation are the type of rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles or the cardiac muscles together constituting the cardiac cycle. Okay. You know about the functions of blood or the composition of blood. The blood has two parts. One is the liquid part known as plasma, and another one is known as the blood cells or blood corpuscles. Plasma is the liquid part of blood that is pale yellow in color, in which these blood cells float. And blood cells, which are of three types: the red blood cells, also called as erythrocytes, the white blood cells, also termed as leukocytes, and the last is the blood platelets, known as thrombocytes. Cytes matlab cells. All these things have different functions. Blood platelets is responsible for clotting of blood, you know that. White blood cells, leukocytes, are responsible for immunity. Red blood cells are giving red color due to the presence of iron protein called hemoglobin, which binds the respiratory gases with it, that is oxygen and carbon dioxide. All these things constitute the part that is called as blood, okay, which is a fluid connective tissue. This is having many functions in the body of the organism, as it carries the waste materials in it, also the useful nutrients which provide with energy, also the respiratory gases, and everything which is flowing inside the blood acts for different purposes in the body of the organism and carries the life processes. Now you know about the sequence of events which take place during one complete heartbeat. These are called as cardiac cycle. These are the sequence of events that take place during the completion of one heartbeat. And what is heartbeat? Heartbeat is the flow of blood into the heart per minute. It is about 72 times average, 72 times in an average adult. Next is, as you all know that the heartbeat is heard twice, like it is sounding like two sound named as love and dub sound, and this is produced due to the closing and opening of valves. These valves get closed and open due to the contraction of the cardiac muscles and produce the love and dub sound known as heartbeat. And in 1 minute, in an average adult, the heart beats 72 times and the throbbing which you feel, the throbbing felt near the neck region or wrist. The throbbing felt near the neck region or wrist is called as pulse. And what is pulse rate? The number of times the pulse beats or the pulse is felt per minute is called as pulse rate. Heartbeat and pulse, do these two things are the same? Heartbeat and pulse, all these two sound similar? When the stethoscope, the instrument known as stethoscope, is used for listening to the heartbeat. Stethoscope is the instrument which is used by a doctor to listen to the heartbeat, and the instrument known as sphygmomanometer. स्फिग्मोमैनोमीटर, इसको आप 3 वर्ड्स में तोड़ करके याद कर सकते हो. स्फिग्मोमैनोमीटर, स्पेलिंग गड़बड़ नहीं होगी ऐसे. This instrument is used for measuring the blood pressure. Okay. Sphygmomanometer is the instrument used to measure the blood pressure. Stethoscope is the instrument used to listen to the heartbeat. Okay. Now, what do you mean by the blood pressure? Blood pressure क्या है? As the name suggests, you can see that the pressure through which the blood is flowing into the blood vessels is called as the blood pressure. जिस pressure से blood flow कर रहा है, जिस force से blood exert हो रहा है against the arterial wall of the heart is called the blood pressure. So you can write it down like the heart must exert pressure to push the blood. The heart must exert pressure to push the blood through the blood vessels the force of blood that is exerted against the arterial wall of the heart is called as the blood pressure. Okay, as the heart or the muscles of the heart is pushing the pressure, putting the pressure to exert the blood away from the heart, so this kind of pressure or force exerted by the wall of the heart is called as the blood pressure. The average blood pressure is of about normal value is 120 upon 80 mm of Hg. Hg means mercury. 120 upon 80 mm of Hg. मतलब कि ये क्या चीज़ है, मतलब इसका जो प्रेशर है वो अपर लिमिट और लोअर लिमिट के अकॉर्डिंग है. द फर्स्ट लिमिट ऑफ द ब्लड प्रेशर वी विल डिस्कस एज द सिस्टोलिक प्रेशर. द systolic pressure, and the second one is the diastolic pressure. What do you mean by systolic pressure and diastolic pressure? Systolic pressure is the average pressure, produced in the ventricles when they contract or pump the blood into. सिस्टोलिक प्रेशर में वेंट्रिकल्स किस में पुश करते हैं ब्लड, एक तरफ जो राइट साइड है दैट पुशेस द ब्लड इनटू पल्मोनरी आर्टरी एंड द लेफ्ट साइड, द लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल पुशेस द ब्लड इनटू एओर्टा. ओके, दिस इज द अपर लिमिट. अपर लिमिट मतलब कि maximum limit of the flow of blood or the pressure of blood. This is called as the systolic pressure. So the upper limit will be 120 mm, मतलब millimeters of mercury, okay. Hg मतलब mercury. एंड डायस्टोलिक का मतलब जब दोनों वेंट्रिकल्स, व्हेन द एवरेज प्रेशर इज पुटेड और प्रोड्यूस्ड व्हेन द वेंट्रिकल्स गेट फिल्ड फ्रॉम ब्लड, व्हेन द वेंट्रिकल्स गेट फिल्ड फ्रॉम द ब्लड. From auricles. This average pressure is called as the lower limit, that is 80 mm of Hg. This upper limit and this lower limit, systolic pressure upon diastolic pressure, is called as the normal or average value of the blood pressure in a normal adult. That is 120 upon 80 mm of Hg, and this is being measured by the instrument known as sphygmomanometer. Okay. Now in the next class we will be discussing about the abnormal functioning of the heart. Abnormal functioning of the heart means the problems or the miss or dysfunctioning of the organs of the heart or the muscles of the heart or the parts of the heart or the circulatory system, which will be included like palpitation, cardiac arrest, hypertension or high blood pressure. After that we will be discussing about the blood groups and blood transfusion. So only 3 topics are left of this system. The lymphatic system is also there, which we already discussed, but we will be revising it again. So till then you all just be good, stay fit, and don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. Okay, see you soon. Thank you.